this. I just wanted to walk through a few things, and I hope that you have already benefited from this activity, this exercise that seemed so simple, but yet important and beneficial and very, very deliberate. So this assignment is one of those very intentional activity for us to really take the time out to reflect on what we do each day and how we do it each day. And so we started with words like innovation, creativity, teaching and learning, because I think as educators, sometimes we feel like we understand the elements of these words. I think as educators, sometimes we think we just know these words and these are our words and we use them. But how do we really measure up when it comes to really engaging our students? And so some of the common terms that came out for innovation was creativity, altered, improved, invention. And I like this quote of innovation is a process of making modifications or adaptations. I was speaking to someone who's going to survive the changes in our education system, the rapid changes in our education system, is a teacher who is innovative. And when I say innovative, a teacher who's able to adapt, adaptability. And I look at here at this other coming from NSC and Amabile 2010 talks about innovation is the pursuit of altering or creating something novel out of a pre-existing idea. And that is what I wanted to come back to again, the idea of modification, the idea of innovation, the idea of adapting, the idea of something pre-existing and you're making it better. And I want us to think about that as educators. Think about your classroom. Is your classroom effective? Is your classroom innovative? Are you able to adapt? Are your students able to adapt, to modify what is there? And so I want to really leave that idea with you. As for the term creativity, again, we go back to the idea of new ideas, of developing, conceiving, originality. I question the idea of originality, and I would love to hear from you. So you can make a comment in the chat in the under this post. You can make a comment on the link, even on the page that I'm going to post this. Do you think creativity is really originality? And I question that, and I don't want an answer for it from me. I want you to think about it. I don't know if there's a real answer for that also, because sometimes as educators, we have to understand that it is okay not to have answers. It is okay to have more questions. And sometimes when I think of creativity, sometimes I be honest, I loosely use the terminology, there's nothing new under the sun. That's me. I always, loosely use that terminology. But the truth is creativity originality? So I would love to hear from you on that. Is creativity originality? Do you have to be original to be creative? And I want to hear from you if you want to, to share your idea on that. Here we come to teaching, one of my favorite words. I believe in my heart that I love teaching. I believe teaching is my thing. It's my gift. It's my talent. It's what I love. It's my passion. But something really stood out for me, and it was Melissa's definition of teaching. And I'm telling you, I had to pause because I've heard this before. Of course, I'm a part of this, but it really resonated with me when you talked about disruption of a current state of being. And I could lecture on this for the entire day, that teaching should be a disruption in the state of being of understanding. Too many of us forget that a part of teaching is unlearning or unwiring. So many of us have come to the classrooms with what we think we know, what we have known for years, what has worked for us, and we just want to do that. Sometimes I really get a little bit frustrated when I say students want to just hurry through a course and take nothing from it because you are teaching for 15 years, 20 years, and you know it all. But I think you need to take a step back and disrupt what you know. Yeah, take a step back and disrupt what you think you know about quality teaching, about learning, about classroom behavior and practices. Because some of us, we have been teaching for years, but our pedagogy needs to be disrupted. Our pedagogy needs to be interrupted. Our pedagogy needs to change. It needs to encourage and move from where we were. I'm telling you, I do not I there are certain things that are very basic with me. Extremely basic. I've been doing that for 23 years and it works. And one of those things is inspiration. I've always been a teacher who inspire my students. But my pedagogy has changed over the years. Leaving from Jamaica to the Bahamas, I have had to change and adjust. Leaving from a public school to a private school, I have had to change and adjust. Leaving from a private school to another private school where the students are from a different socioeconomic background, I have had to adjust and adapt and change. Teaching coming into Canada and teaching into the public school system in areas where students are lacking in necessary things, where we see discrimination, where we see prevailing oppressive practices. I have had to disrupt those kind of pedagogy and to impart, that's the word there, impart something new. Another thing that I think I am disrupting, and it's taking a while, and some of us in this room may be guilty, is how we teach. We're trying to get away from the sage on the stage. The teacher knows everything. And sometimes I'm genuinely frustrated when I realize adult learners like yourselves want every single thing from the teacher. Your peers are so good, they are so qualified, what they post is so amazing, but we want to just take it from our teacher because teacher knows best, teacher knows every single thing. And I want to disrupt that today. I want you to stop doing that. I want us to stop doing that. I want us to realize that we can disrupt what we know and we can be better at what we do as educators, as teachers, and even as learners. And so for me, that is very important. I like the idea with teaching is a process of attending to people's needs, experiences, and feelings. I think this is powerful, Heather. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm going to leave that there for a while for you to simmer. Attending to people's needs, experiences, and feeling. And that takes me to the last one, learning. And learning it actually takes me to Carrie's, your sharing here, Carrie, when you said a social activity. Social activity. And back here with Lorraine, when you talk about outside your comfort zone and reflecting, here we go back again as learning is questioning. I'm from Jamaica, so I'm from the old British system, as I said before, where we don't question authority, we don't question a textbook, we don't question what the teacher has to say, we don't question these things because this is how we do. This is what we were taught, that is good teaching and learning. But we have to question. We have to walk away with more questions. And I am very excited about, you asking questions, not for me to provide the answer, but just to leave a question there for you to reflect, for your peers to reflect. Okay? And so when I asked you to revise your definitions, everyone provided original, initial, I should say, not original, but initial definitions. When I said to you to revise, why? Because sometimes it's an opportunity to reflect on your own association and growth with the idea. Many concepts emerge with time and changes. And sometimes I want, after you have spoken to your peers and you have looked at the ideas in what your peers have shared, now you have an additional voice to think about. If the only voice in the room is yours, you are not learning. If you come to a course like this and you had 4 definitions, and when you leave this course, you still have your 4 definitions and nothing else, you have failed. Yeah, you're of course you got an A. I gave you an A plus. Gave you an A, but you didn't grow because you need to make sure you get that additional voice. And is there a right or a correct meaning? No. Many words are very contextual, and when we do, especially when we are in research, I like when my students say, for the purpose of this research, we're going to use this particular meaning, or this particular definition will be used for the purpose of this research. So I want you to think about that. Think about your intention when you think about certain words. And of course, we talk about opportunity to grow. And I want you to make a comment, please, if there's any other reason why you felt that revising the definitions were beneficial. Go ahead and make a comment. It's not mandatory, but I love to hear from you. Leave a comment if you felt there's another reason or another purpose or another value for us to have revised our initial definitions. Okay, so I want you to do that for me. And finally, what are the best sources? So in teaching and a course like this, as graduate students, we want you to position yourselves at different levels. As I grow, I position my thoughts and my ideas also at a different level. And I notice many of you use a dictionary meaning. Some of you may have Googled something, Wikipedia something, and I want us to. It wasn't incorrect, and so don't worry. Don't be alarmed if you have used textbook dictionary definitions. That's fine. But I want us to kind of get into the habit of using research and analysis, even in our something as simple as a definition. So for me, peer-reviewed journals are the preferred sources. Preferred sources. Why? Because there's a connection to research. There's a connection to other sources. And there's a connection to give you often leaders in the field or the area. Leaders in the field or the area. So I want you to think about that as you do a course like this. Don't just grab the first thing you Google. You know what I'm saying? We have to be careful, or we just snap on Google and just use what. Let us find out who is the writer. Where's the source coming from? Is this source a reputable source? Because that's what we need to question as researchers. And then I'm going to close off with this one, and I would love to hear from you. Please, implications for pedagogy. Think of your classroom. As we think of these 4 words today: innovation, creativity, teaching, and learning. Think about your classroom. How is learning taking place? How is teaching? What are the tools you are using to engage with your students? Is there creativity, or should I say, is there room for creativity? Some of us, we are too rigid. We are too rigid. Is there space for innovation? When we talk about innovation, when we talk about that modification, that adaptability, how do you cater to the diversity and difference in your classroom? Are you even giving that consideration? Is your classroom an inclusive space? And I'm talking about your practice, your pedagogy, your learning. Are your students able to see themselves in your classroom? And this takes us to culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy. Have you changed? Have you developed? Have you adapted? Have you grown? Based on your revised definitions now of innovation, creativity, teaching, and learning, who is being left out in your class? Is everyone being served? Think about that. And I don't want you to ask me any questions. It's not about asking me another question. What I would love for you to do is to ask the group a question. So I would love for you to take just a minute and post a question. Just post one question. I mean, 2 is nice, but 1 is okay. Post 1 question for me as you think about pedagogy and your practice. We don't need answers. I don't want answers. Keep your answers. Hold on to those answers. Percolate your answers. But what I want is a question. Think about your pedagogy. Think about your practice. Think about what you see when you walk into your school. Think about some of the oppressive pedagogy you see. Think about the exclusionary practices. Think about the lack of creativity, and ask a question. I'm going to come back to look at those questions later on in the course. Okay? So I think you're doing an amazing job on this module. I have seen so many good stuff, and I want you to continue thinking about teaching and learning, and thinking about innovation, creativity, thinking about teaching, learning, innovation, and creativity.